Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. We talked a little bit with Daniel Poser, and he wrote an article over there at usdailyreview.com that I thought was interesting. What we learned in corporate America from the now very infamous New York prison outbreak is a fascinating article and an interesting look at it. And Dan, welcome to the program. How are you?
Hey, thank you very much, Kevin. I'm really pleased to be on your show. I'm a Houstonian originally, and I know of your program.
Well, good. Well, we're glad. We're glad. We prefer Houstonians to know about our program, not former Houstonians. But hey, we're delighted when anyone is familiar with The Price of Business, and grateful for that.
Oh, great. Great to be on. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit, first of all, about your book, 13ers, which I thought was a great book. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Give us a little bit of the overview of the book.
Well, the reason behind 13ers, which the subtitle is Why Only 13% of Companies Successfully Execute Their Strategy and How Yours Can Be One of Them, it really came out of my experience in my own business, and then having sold those businesses in 2001, I began looking at, what's the one thing? What is holding people back so much? And, I began looking at what people were working on to solve their problems, and it turns out that the biggest thing is that they work on symptoms. They don't really work on the problems. And this is kind of part of our culture. And we find it everywhere. We find it in companies. We find it in bureaucracies and government. And
doctors' offices.
And I wrote the article.
Doctors' offices.
Article about the same thing.
At doctors' offices, you name it. We find it everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're going to have that disease for the rest of your life, but you'll spend a lot on pills and feel better.
Exactly.
I mean, it's kind of systemic, and I think a lot of it has to do with a desire to get immediate results rather than long-term results.
I think so too, and I think people are. They go with their feelings. So what they work on is let's take the pain away. Let's find the one thing that's going to take the pain away. And so, we hear people giving speeches, and what are they talking about? They're talking about the immediate pain that we need to deal with. But what happens is that can only produce an incremental improvement in your business if what you're working on is your symptoms. And you've got to go much deeper. And what's much deeper is the way people think and, what impacts the way people relate to each other. And so, what I'm trying to convey in the book, and what I'm conveying in the book, is that we need to build more of a relational value system in business. Well, we have to really focus on it in our culture, but it's a good place to start as business. And so when you look at best place to work companies, that was my research for the book. And what I found was that the people who perform best, 2 to 3 times better than the non-best place to work companies, best place to work companies, and they don't even know this themselves, most of them, but they have a relational paradigm that they operate within. And it makes a huge difference in the way people feel about working for them because they matter. They feel like they're working on things that matter, and they can contribute to the organization in a way that many companies, most, 87%, can't.
Yep. I want people to check out 13ers. By the way, they can go to danproser.com. That's DANPROSSER.com. And you can check it out. In fact, it looks like you can get a free copy of that book.
If you go to 13ers book with an S, 13ersbook.com, I can send you a free book.
Well, I want people to do that. Absolutely. All right. Great article, by the way. Thanks so much for contributing to usdailyreview.com, the national news site. And it's an article unique to that site. What we learned in corporate America from the New York prison outbreak. Give us kind of a summary. I don't want you to take all of our thunder because I want people to go today and check that that article out, and they can find it in the business section today. But kind of give us the overview, if you will.
Well, it comes back to the same thing almost. It's like people in any organization. I don't care if it's a business or a prison. We assume that the organization has a structure and that they're focused on producing a result. But what ends up happening is because they're focused on symptoms, they try to avoid, just like any organization, prisons try to avoid failure in some way. What does failure look like? It looks like a prison outbreak. So this is really about that New York prison outbreak and what might have happened and what happens at the head of the organization to cause the whole organization to fail. And that is by focusing on avoiding failure.
Yeah.
So that's the primary avoidance syndrome that I talk about in the article. There's a couple more ideas in there as well, but it's working on symptoms again.
Dan, if you keep coming up with observations like that, I'm going to change your name to Captain Obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
And for the listener to get a kind of an understanding of how this works in the real world is how do teams that have a 3-1 lead in a series end up losing that series because all they do is try to hold on to what they got rather than continue to play aggressively like they did that got them that 3-1 lead.
Yeah, that's really an interesting analogy because where do they go for that? They go to their head, and really they should be trusting their guts and their heart, but they're listening to their head, and so what do? They start acting and behaving in a way that undermines and sabotages their lead.
Yeah, we saw that recently with the Rockets and the Clippers, the Clippers had an overwhelming lead. It was laughable. Why are the Rockets showing up? And then you watch the quality of play by the Clippers, and it plummeted as they went along because they were playing almost entirely defensively rather than those bold moves that they played when they needed to win. And I tell you, I think that's a big problem with companies. And I think, ironically, in some ways, the bigger the company, the more vulnerable they are to that.
It's amazing to see it because they're playing not to lose. I live up in the Rocky Mountains now, and I'll be back in Texas soon. But we watch some local companies and how they build systems into their organization, all designed not to fail. They create rules, they create regulations, and those do not inspire employees to give the best service.
Nope, they don't. Daniel Proser has been our guest. Dan, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Kevin.
And I want people to also see our article at usdailyreview.com, and that has a link straight to his website, What We Learned in Corporate America from the New York Prison Outbreak. All right, when we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here does show up over there at usdailyreview.com, and you're listening to The Price of Business.